Hello, friends. Welcome back to Saturday Evenings Posted Mostly Presents. And we are supposed to be having a conversation about communitarianism and communal living situation based on the utopian ideals outlined in Walden 2 by B.F. Skinner. But our special guest has not arrived yet. So, here's hoping. In the meantime, let's start with today's ad read. The pre-rolls, of course. Oh, and I am Trevor Stewart, 1308. We are Nikwork Entertainment, and we are here with the ASOC Prod Cat. Just Me Crystal is lurking in the chat. Much love to you. Any of you viewing us on Twitch, go follow her and check out her. Thank you, Crystal. Go follow her and check out. She's playing Jackbox right now on Twitch, and she is a lot of fun to play Jackbox with, or just to watch play Jackbox with her friends. It is amazing. She is absolutely amazing. Also, let's start today with our ad read. Our pre-rolls today are provided by The Hidden Leaf, downtown Charlottesville, Virginia, 200 West Baker...
200 West what?
What? Hold on, I forgot to switch this for one. And now... let me try this again. Today's pre-roll is provided by The Hidden Leaf, downtown Charlottesville, Virginia, 105 West Main Street, Suite 200. Above the bricks between 10,000 Villages and Hamiltons, where the only thing better than their bud is their customer service. A great place to go with some great buds to get some great buds. And they have the lowest prices in town, according to my own personal research, which might be highly biased. We will get to that later. Because the other shout out we have going on is... other part of our ad read is, sorry, Kat. I just read what you pinned. The Firehouse Organics Craft Cannabis Farm, and I wasn't gonna go to the private sales event, farmers market this week, but my ex-wife and her boyfriend twisted my arm, and we went. And when I saw that Firehouse had the Dante's Inferno, I knew that might be my only chance to try it, because I watched it disappear at the Hidden Leaf in 2 days. Like... and I don't know how much they got shipped, but I'm sure it was pounds, because it's big bags. And for that to disappear in 2 days, it must be something special. So, I am going to try this. Again, this bowl is sponsored by Firehouse Organics, Craft Cannabis Farm. They are available at the private sales events at the Hidden Leaf on Fridays, called Frosty Fridays. Don't forget to check the Hidden Leaf's website for events and times. And our special guest has joined us. would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Jerry, and I'm Trevor's mother. That's simple.
That's very simple.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, it is.
Nice to meet you too, Kat.
Mm.
And
Very tasty.
I'm having a little I'm on the call, but I don't remember how to use Twitch, but I'm not sure that matters.
It doesn't. It
Okay,
doesn't.
I'm not going to worry about it.
Right. I will be reading the comments on Twitch out loud because the comments also don't show up on YouTube. And this is going to YouTube, so I want the whole audience to be able to understand what's going on. Especially when I'm laughing at something one of my Twitch friends says. So Ma, we have invited you here for a discussion about communitarianism and the communal living situation based on the utopian ideals outlined in Walden 2 by B.F. Skinner that you lived at and I was born at. Now, we should first off say that we are trying not to say the actual name of the place because we aren't going to be giving away information that easily. All of you playing the RRG still have to figure out what we're talking about. Even though we did accidentally, drop some very serious hints last week. Now, we would like to point out that this is not the farm commune, which is the, capital FARM, farm, which is a very similar commune, from what I can tell, to the intentional living situation, communal living situation that we lived in.
Thank you for saying that. Just to clarify that we will refer to where we lived as the farm because we did that internally, I'm going to go back to the farm or whatever. But we're not talking about the farm from Summertown, Tennessee, just our home, our ex-home.
Our ex-home in Louisa County, Virginia.
Oh my God, you're getting really close.
Well, I've given that hint out a lot.
Okay.
I have told people this a lot. One of the other hints is that one of the first people in the room after I was born was Patch Adams.
Yeah, you were about a week old or so.
Oh, okay. I was about a week old.
Yeah.
Okay. But, the legend remains. So, now, we aren't here to talk about my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
We are actually here to talk about this commune. And one of the places I also want to start is pointing out that this is not, because it still exists, it's still going, this is not a cult. There might be some amount of management of incoming media, but that was mainly to filter out violence and competition, these negative ideas that the commune was trying to remove from its society, its internal society.
Yep.
So, would you like to give us, I guess, sort of the official description that that you used to use.
Okay, I'll do what I can. Just to clarify, I lived there from 1970 to 1987, so I've been gone a long time. And while there's, we still see people now and then, and are aware of the status of the place. There are a lot of things about it I don't know anymore.
That is understood, and a good that's a good disclaimer there, because I am really mainly just asking about your experience there, your time there. What I'm gonna ask is, what was the mission, and do you feel like you succeeded? Do you feel like or do you feel like you got from the experience what you needed?
Oh, good question. So I joined when the community was 3 years old, and I was 20, a college dropout, at a time when everybody was dropping out, and uh, the year of Kent State, and I was drawn to the community because of its philosophy. It was um, geared. What it wanted to do was create an alternative society, a utopia, basically, um, that was sort of a model alternative way of living that was nonviolent, egalitarian, um, non-hierarchical, uh, basically creating the good life for the people who lived there in a way that was as positive as possible, and it was secular, as you said, that people, could believe whatever they wanted to believe. It was sort of built around the concept of, let's structure this living situation so that people can be their best self and have their best lives, equally, um, without there having to be um, leaders and followers, without there having to be police, without there having to be punishments. You know, so that was the goal. Can we structure things in such a way that it just is a good life and gets better and better? And in those early years, we saw ourselves as very experimental. We were creating social constructions as well as physical plan, to try to make it easy to do the right thing and not that desirable to not do the right thing from a larger social point of view. And there were some rules about nonviolence and you know egalitarianism. And I just looked up the old behavior code, which just makes me smile. It existed when I joined. I don't think it's looked at anymore. But basically, the behavior code included uh, that people would be there was a no complaining rule.
Oh, okay. That
No gossip. Gossip was part of the behavior code. Doing your share of the work.
that's
Uh, I,
understandable.
Yeah, and
But the no
basically,
complaining, no gossip, that just didn't last.
well, I remember in the early years, different people would try to varying degrees to not gossip. And if you were gonna gossip, then you would sort of preface it by saying, now, this isn't really gossip. I'm saying this to be helpful, you know?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I ain't one to gossip, so you ain't hear it from me.
Right,
Yep.
but so so there were the sort of social lubricants, the things to make living together, to try to make living together smoother and easier. Um, and and uh, and then there were the structural components, and some of them were taken from Walden 2 more or less, and adapted and readapted and readapted. Um,
Okay.
I'm going to stop now for a minute, see if you have questions.
Well, my first question is, what are the structural, what sort of structural stuff do you mean there? But
Okay.
also, I, how long did the no complaining, no gossiping last? I mean, I know that by the time I arrived,
Yeah, oh yeah, that was pretty much gone.
out the window.
Um, I would say the first year and a half or so that I was there, we had in those very early days, we had a strong behavioral engineering bent, from Walden to B.F. Skinner. So it was uh, trying to, not that gossip or bitching, as we would call it, was had anything to do with behaviorism, but uh, it wasn't the touchy feely stuff. It wasn't in the early years. It wasn't let's all talk about our feelings. Um, it was let's behave in civilized ways, and
Okay.
then within the next year and a half or so, a lot more of things were changing in the larger society, in the therapeutic universe, toward the humanistic, um, you know, uh, communication driven
Okay. And
therapy. So,
and
yeah.
from what I remember, you guys tried to incorporate quite a bit of that new outlook uh, on emotional wellness, on
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
relationship wellness dynamics.
Yeah. And that was really at the individual level. That was not the community. It was not community driven, but, people who lived there experimented with primal screaming and rap groups and all kinds of stuff.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure. I've heard the place called a great place for adults to go to grow up.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I have to imagine that there was a lot of this self work sort of stuff
Hmm.
that went on.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a good point. And the farm uh, allowed people to do that without, you know,
Without judgment.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Uh,
we were all we were all freaks there. No one was gonna look at you like you were a freak.
yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
I
So,
remember being told that we were radical deviants. That was how we
oh,
looked at
okay.
ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I
I think
remember that
it's
being a
true.
buzzword that was tossed around a bunch.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because after we left and I went to UVA undergrad in sociology, and I took a course in deviance. And the professor and I just really had fun with the idea that, you know, there is this universe of deviance by choice where, you know, I mean, the farm was, um,
T.O.
yeah, it was a great example of that. But you also asked about um, the the structures that
Yes, how you built, what those
yeah. Oh,
structures were, how you built
right.
them and what they were.
So from from early on, uh, it's funny because I've been reading this morning a whole lot of old documents, and some of this stuff goes back to like not the first day, but within the first few months. There were two driving structures to that the community basically was built around, and one of them was a decision-making structure. It was called the planner manager system.
The planner manager system. I've been trying to remember what the other part of that was.
Uh-huh.
Because the planner, planner, that's
Right.
in there, that's stuck in there.
Uh,
And we'll touch on
what that is.
how they bent the rules of that too. But
Okay.
what that is, and how they bent the rules of that specifically for you.
Oh, no, 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 no. Okay,
No?
we'll get into that.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, so what is the planner manager system?
Okay.
Now, I've
So,
been going around for the past 30 some years or so telling people that, in my opinion, this is how communitarianism can work on small scales,
hmm
on village sized scales.
hmm okay. Well, let me explain it then. So, um, in this in this society, in this little universe, there were spheres of activity, that things that need to be done. So there was the gardens, there were the farm animals, there were there was clothing, there was food and food preparation and everything around food. Um, there were uh, um,
Construction,
cleaning, construction,
plumbing.
vehicles.
Yep.
There was not a separate plumbing, but yeah, you've
I
got
mean,
the idea. You know, there must have been 35, 40, maybe fewer at the beginning.
you
But
say
these
there
were
wasn't a separate plumbing, but I think
okay.
there's one person who might argue with you on that.
One person stayed busy with it for sure. But basically, so this was so if you pick something like um, I think an easy one is maybe vehicles. Okay, so there needed to be some responsibility for making sure that the transportation needs of the community were met. And so it was acquiring vehicles, maintaining vehicles, dealing with gas and uh, just the whole range of things around
And this
transportation needs.
also ended up incorporating some of the larger farm equipment, didn't it?
I think the farm equipment was under farm actually.
Oh, interesting.
Um, yeah, yeah, that
Interesting.
was within, yeah. But anyway, so the person or people, usually there would be one manager for an area. Sometimes there were co-managers. Um, they they had to make decisions, the day-to-day decisions about this stuff, and not take it to the big group. unless it was something that impacted more than just their little area. But, whether they were going to replace a radiator or patch something, uh, they just made those decisions. They had, now being a manager didn't mean that you weren't a worker. It just meant that some small percentage of the time that you worked,
Was also
your
spent
work was
making
management.
decisions.
Right. And you got two budgets. You had a money budget and you had a labor budget, and they were different things. So the money budget went for actually buying things on the outside. The labor budget was the time that you or other people put into working in your area. Some budgets were much more money intensive, some budgets were much more labor intensive. Um,
That makes
and
sense.
so the managers, so that made, having managerships just made things smoother and easier. Even if if a regular member didn't agree with the manager's decision, it's like, thank God we didn't have to all meet every day for all the decisions that all the managers had to make. They had a lot of freedom. There were higher
Especially
level.
because decision making was supposed to be run by consensus.
Uh, yeah, yeah, if it could be. I think we had some. It's funny because I was just reading about it this morning, and I wasn't. I don't. I wasn't really clear about what we did with. Um.
When consensus wasn't
Yeah.
reached, couldn't be
Right.
reached.
Right. Yeah.
From what I remember, it was a majority rule situation in those situations. Like it
I
was
think
a
in.
it was a full
Yeah.
commune vote, and yeah. But that's that could also have just been something they did once or twice to sort
Right.
of
Right. Not
uh,
on the day to day. Not on the day to day, or not on most of the big decisions. So there were things that sort of overrode the manager's areas,
mm,
the bigger decisions for the community. And there were lots of them all the time, not the least of which was what resources did each managership get? And what about when there's a special need? And what about if there was a problem with a person who was really being way outside the boundaries of acceptable behavior? And, um, like, anyway. Um,
yeah.
so those larger decisions were in the hands of planners. There were three planners
Hold on just a moment,
and
Ma.
yeah, yeah.
Audio is getting crackly. It does this occasionally. I think that might be because my processor is trying to catch up.
Okay, okay.
Uh, but it should come back momentarily.
Just let me know.
All right. I think we're
You back?
mostly good. Yep.
Okay.
Wouldn't
Um,
wouldn't be a stream without audio problems.
This is true.
So,
so
the budgets were different, especially for things like when there was a specialized problem.
right, right. So the planners, um, there were three of them at a time. They served 18-month terms. I used to think of them as 18-month sentences. Um,
Mm.
they were they were offset, so every 6 months one would go out and a new planner would come in. And we didn't have elections for them. We had the potential of an election against one. So the three people who were planners would choose the replacement of the one going out, and then a veto box would go out. And if, I guess, over half of the uh, membership vetoed somebody as planner, they couldn't be planner. So you didn't have all the, and I have to say, being a planner was no joy at all. It was not fun. You didn't, it's, again, it was, you might get a few, you might get a little bit of your work um, falling into the stuff you did, but it's not like you were in a position that all you did was be a planner. And it was so emotional and so difficult to keep
And
people happy that
how long did you spend as planner?
I think I did 3 plannerships. Yeah, they were separated by several years.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because from what I remember, you were just constantly a planner. They just,
No,
everybody was looking to you to make decisions
no,
all the
no,
time.
no, 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 not at all. Not at all.
Oh, it
Like,
just felt like that then.
I know, I can understand that, but not, anyway, so that was that system.
Okay.
And
That's going to
uh,
lead us into our next, one of the next things I want to know about, which is the labor
okay,
credit system.
yes,
But we have an ad break coming in
okay,
a minute and a half. So,
okay,
you have a minute and a half to finish up that sort of talking about the planners.
okay. So let me make one thing clear about this government structure. It didn't address personal decisions about how you live your life, what you think, who you love, how you dress. Um, that stuff was all personal. Uh, and it really addressed the functioning of the community.
One of the few rules about that more personal side of things was no nudity where they could see you from the road.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I
Well,
mean,
for good reason. I mean, oh my God.
we're in the
In the
middle
early
of
days,
what?
people, yeah, people used to drive up looking for uh,
Right. Looking
hippie
for,
young women.
yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
the Peanut Gallery just texted me. We're in ad. The Peanut Gallery just texted me. The communitarians are being disrupted for capitalism.
Like we're not capitalist, Jeff.
See, I know. Hey, actually, no. No.
Okay.
I am borderline not capitalist.
Yeah.
I
I'm
am,
What do
sorry.
you think?
I'm existing in a capitalist society, but because of the way that the way that this is set up, the way that the land use is set up, the way that I'm not bleeding this land for money. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not charging my neighbor to graze his cattle.
You were raised
What would
right.
it cost? Lockpick says, "What would it cost to make you a capitalist? I need a dollar amount."
Is he talking to me
No, he's talking
or
to
you?
me.
Oh, okay.
Lockpick, honey, you don't need a dollar amount to turn me into anything you want.
Hey, Lottie.
So no, I mean we're not. I'm not running a capitalist enterprise here.
Right.
I'm not running an anti-capitalist enterprise, but I'm not running a capitalist enterprise. I'm running an enterprise in a capitalist system. And this has been on my mind a bunch as I watch a bunch of, bread tube and cornbread tube, left tube, about anti-capitalists, about capitalist propaganda.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay.
What?
Peanut Gallery just texted me, I'm 100% capitalist. Richmond is far better to Bismarck. Far superior to Bismarck. We have the best capital.
That was terrible of you.
He's within reaching distance of you, Kat.
I know this. I mean,
I'm curious why he chose Bismarck.
I have no idea. Sometimes the inner workings of the mind of the Peanut Gallery are a mystery to me.
they're a mystery to a lot of people.
But in response to your question, Lockpick, a dollar amount to make me capitalist, it would have to be enough for me to buy my way out of capitalism. You'd literally have to give me enough money for me to buy my way back out.
Send him that Batman thing.
Which Batman thing?
I am telling the Peanut Gallery to send you something I sent him.
Oh no.
Oh yes, you'll have to read it later because it is involved and it takes a little bit of reading.
Okay.
But effectively, it's Bruce Wayne trying to buy himself out of capitalism and how that went for him.
All right, so the planner manager system, part of the budgets that the managers got were labor budgets.
Right.
Which leads us to the labor credit system, which was, its analog in a capitalist society would be the paycheck. But
sort of, yeah.
But not really. Again, because this isn't a capital, it had a much deeper meaning. I mean, part of it was how much are you contributing to the welfare of the entire commune, you know, and part of it was how much quality are you contributing, how much quantity are you contributing, not just the value of your time.
Exactly. Very good point.
Now, I don't know the intricacies. Did everybody have to were there certain jobs that everyone had to do at least some, such as KP?
Actually, yeah, that came later, but yes, kitchen was the one thing, and it could either be cooking or cleaning, but it was the one thing that everybody and everybody had to do. Let's step back a minute, because the foundation of the labor credit system, I think, is in a sense, the most radical thing about this way of living, and it's the thing that I miss conceptually. So the labor credit system is based on the concept of everybody has to do their fair share of the work. And then the first question is, well, what's the scope of the work? And the scope of the work is what needs to be done for the welfare of the society as a whole. So those managers we were talking about would add up all the things that need to be done in each of their areas like the dairy manager would say, I need 2 people twice a day, or 1 person twice a day, 2 hours each time to milk. And I need an additional 10 hours for fences and blah, blah, blah. So all of that would get added up. All the manager's work would get added up, and divided by the number of people living in the community. And that would be the number of hours of work that you had to do each week. So first of all, it basically wasn't driven off of the concept of you work because you need to make money so that you can survive and buy the things you want.
Right.
And
all of that,
whatever.
all of survival is already taken care of.
Exactly. And
Um,
plus,
Something,
yeah.
by the way, a point we missed earlier when I was saying this is not a cult. One of the few rules, and one of the rules for entry was taking a vow of poverty. In essence.
Yes.
And
In essence, yes.
you know, you would everything you brought with, there was very little personal property.
Right.
At 20,
Or
so that,
wealth. And there was no personal wealth. Yeah.
and no personal wealth.
Right.
And that was kind of that was one of the main points of that sort of helped do away with the need to get reimbursed for your work. You know,
Yep.
all of your personal wealth was no longer, that was not applicable anymore.
Right. Right. Exactly. It was a community.
Right. And your needs, like, I'm about to repeat myself, and I'm trying to find a better way to put it, but I'm not sure I can. Yeah. So
Your needs were met, and beyond that, as the community got wealthier, the community invested more in things that people wanted to have around, or wanted to have access to, or, we used to get an allowance, and the allowance went up over the years, and that actually was your money. You could do whatever you wanted with it, but
and there was even a method for buying things from the outside world. The day tripper method.
Right.
People, they'd send people out to Charlottesville, Louisa, Richmond, and they were called the day trippers, which,
and
as I got older, I looked back on and went, hippies.
Yeah. So the thing that I really loved about the labor credit system was the foundation of the idea that the work that needs to be done is the work that needs to be done. That we don't have lots of layers of stuff that people do because they need to make money, and it's creating wealth for someone else, but really is not adding value to anybody's life outside of that. And this pared that away, and just focused on what really needs to be done. And
which
then,
also left people with an amazingly large amount of free time.
That's true, because included in the labor credit system was not simply making money for the community, which there was, I would say about 50% of the work that was done had some income producing function,
but it was
between 40 and 50.
But it was also taking care of the community.
It was taking care of the community. It was the construction and repairing the vehicles and farming and gardening and cooking and cleaning and childcare and all of the things that are not considered part of the economy in the outside world. doing taxes, or what the things that
everything
people.
everything that wasn't everything that was work that had to be done.
Yes.
I even as a child, I
Hmm.
even got labor credits for my chores.
Yep. Yep. Yeah,
Um
we started you guys on
yeah,
labor credits early.
pretty
That's good.
early.
And the other thing that you got labor credits for was if you got sick or hurt, there was no limit to how long you could be out of commission, and you earned your share of quota. You didn't go in the hole for not working on the other kinds of things. You just earned quota with sick hours, right, with no limit to sick hours. So um, basically, it was a comprehensive care of
Which
people.
opened up for retirement, which has
Well, the
become a
other thing,
thing there.
the retirement, yeah, what I was, it was during one of my plannerships, and I think it was three women on the plannership at the time, and it might have been the three mothers at the time. Um,
That tracks.
we we started thinking about getting old, and we decided to plan for retirement by reducing people's individual quota by an hour a week and increasing it an hour every year, you know, and we thought that you would be old by the time you were 50, and that's when you start, you know, and I'm looking back now laughing at that
Right.
concept. But, it was that you would glide into retirement, so to speak, so that you'd still continue to be productive, assuming that your health is okay. You would continue to be productive and just do a little bit less each year. Your quota would go down.
There were
Um,
other things that, I mean, there were things you could do still that weren't necessarily like if you were in poor health, there were
uh
other things you could do
Sure.
to help, and that would
Yeah, there was
count.
work.
Yeah.
Right. And so the other thing about the labor credit system is we tried very, very hard to make sure that people did the work they wanted to do. So you've got this giant pot of work that's very specified, and you've got this giant pot of people's hours, and then you want to put it together to maximize happiness and at the same time get the work done. So one of the things each week that had to be done was get what do people as individuals want to do, and how can we assign the work that needs to be done to the people who want to do it so that everybody's happy
And this is
and
how you
productive.
ended up hanging drywall.
That's true. Yeah, I got into construction early. I mean, I think some people would argue that there are problems with that approach, because if one week I say I want to do construction, and I get assigned construction, that doesn't mean I know how to do construction. And there was actually part of the early behavior code that predated me. One of the points in the behavior code was you have to teach someone. If somebody wants to know how to do something that you know how to do, you have to teach them. Um,
Oh, wow. I like that.
I,
I mean,
I
it's not
know.
great because not everybody can teach.
Well,
Not
yeah, I suppose
everybody
that.
should teach.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Uh,
And the
and God
trade-offs
bless
are
the
always,
people who are good teachers,
I
Kat.
know.
Thank you. Kat is a preschool teacher.
Oh, bless your heart. God.
Yeah, this is this is a side hustle for her that is all about having fun.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I can't do that.
No, you
I,
can't. I
in
I
the
love
labor
you,
credit
Ma,
system,
but teaching is not
yeah,
your strong point.
it's absolutely not. Anyway, so that's the labor credit system. Very, I think very radical. in
Yep.
terms of being truly alternative. And
Now, I
I've got a question, if I may.
sure.
All right. So you've got this wonderful labor credit system set up.
Uh-huh.
With everybody doing things and things taken out for people that are under the weather or injured or whatever.
Right.
How did you handle if you had someone that had some sort of permanent disability like blindness?
Well, I don't think we ever, at least in the time that I was there was never anybody who was so incapacitated that they couldn't get around. But since we've left and people have gotten significantly older, there are a lot more older people. There were people who were pretty much unable to do anything, and on the labor credit system, care for them was creditable. It became one of the jobs that got assigned was taking care of people who can't do anything.
I'd like to
Um,
say that in fact, their elder care, their elder care people are pretty amazing. We used that. We used their elder care people for your mother,
yeah.
and it was. We were living not too far from the commune. You guys still live close enough to the commune that you can get laborers from the commune to come help with stuff. And they were absolutely indispensable with
Oh yeah.
giving your mother the end of life care that we were all able to give her. Also indispensable in that is my ex-wife, who did amazing stuff.
Yes.
I
I really appreciate it. Yeah.
she just
And
whew.
you
And
did, and you
she
did
made a
too, Joe.
career out of that. She's still doing it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Bless
I'm
her
glad to hear
soul.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
I did the best I could. All I'm saying is I did the best I could.
Yes.
So the only other thing about that whole model was we went years and years with it all working fine, but what we found was we didn't have a bigger plan, and we used to run out of money. And so some of us whose parents came out of the Depression and taught us to fear running out of money, came up with a plan, an annual budgeting plan, that we wanted to get the maximum amount of input from the community as a whole as to how to allocate resources over the year. And we called it the trade-off game. And basically, we would put on a document all of the specific requests, so you could see exactly what the managers were asking for, not just I need 5,400 hours this year, but the breakdown, so people could see what they were asking for in money and labor. And we would tell the people who were, any member who wanted to play the game, that you had a balance. You could make trade-offs in the game of decreasing the amount of labor and increasing the amount of money available, because if you had more labor going into making money, you had more money and less labor. Or you could raise quota, number of hours a week that everybody had to work.
Which I
But
imagine wasn't a popular decision.
no, it wasn't. But you could allocate money to increasing allowance. It wasn't just to manager kind of stuff. It was all kinds of, the full range of things.
I'm
And we'd
sure
have people
increasing the
once a year.
allowance was always popular.
Well, not if it increased quota. It wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so
So,
wait, so this is a small enough economic social model where you can actually see how giving yourself a raise
yeah,
might be detrimental to
yes,
you.
yes, exactly.
Ha
Now,
ha!
people were not enthusiastic about the trade-off game. And the funny thing was, the first year that we did it, to introduce it, we had either a day or a weekend of we learned the term Tanstaffel from Henry. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch, Tanstaffel. And
Tonstoffel. All right.
yeah, and we had a play about trade-off. And at dinner, you had to choose one of three locations for dinner. And in one location, you got dessert, but no, I forget what else, very limited, choices on main dishes. And in another location, no dessert, but you got fancy main dishes. And, it was like, okay, make a trade off for dinner. This is what we're talking about. It didn't
Right.
go over that well, but,
I can
um,
imagine not. We are
and the
in
thing
ad
is,
break.
okay,
We'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and keep going with this though, because I don't want to stop you in the middle of this. So trade-off game, trade-off dinner.
yep,
What
yep.
else did you guys do this on that weekend? What
I
else?
don't remember. There may have been activities, there may have been fun activities, but you could only do one. You couldn't do all of them, or they
Oh,
were happening at the, just,
that sounds
just trying
very.
to,
It sounds very Twin Oaks. Oh,
yeah,
we're an ad break.
got it. Okay.
But lockpick is actually uh, subscribed, so he's not in ads. So he just heard me drop that out loud.
Yeah,
He
there you
may
go.
have.
What do
He
you
could have wandered off to the potty and not heard any of that.
That is true. But yeah, it sounds very. I there was a lot of. I felt like there was a lot of that. I felt like everybody was very conscious of that when I was a child, and I as a relatively quiet and unobtrusive child, I
Mhm.
got to sort of listen to how people experience how people sort of went through life. And I
Mhm.
saw a lot of there were a lot of people who were resigned to the trade-off because it's life
Uh-huh.
and they could
Uh-huh.
see how that, but they bristled against it because it wasn't utopian.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Trev. And not only that, but the structure that was the community was also very irritating to people. They really, you know, like, can't we just live our lives and not have to deal with all of this? Um, all this stuff that, from my point of view, made living your life possible. But
But no,
um,
that structure, and I wonder why. I wonder why that structure is less. You know what? No, I'm not going to say it's less irritating in the outside world. It's just as irritating. People complain just as much about it.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I suspect that in the outside world, we feel like we're escaping some of it by living our own lives and having our own incomes and making when in fact
There's
we're
a there's a yeah, exactly. There's an illusion of
Right.
individuality, an
Yeah.
illusion of free will and
Freedom.
free
Yeah. Yeah.
choice.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um,
Not that we haven't thrived after leaving.
Granted, I mean, as you pointed out, on the whole, our family is capitalist.
Say so.
I so as when you did this, when you went in and you signed up for this life, I remember my father saying that there were things about it that he was like, when he first was like, okay, they want me to not do this, not do this. They want,
Mm-hmm.
but okay, it's worth it for,
Mm-hmm.
for the ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like when we left and as
Mm-hmm.
you've kept in touch to some
Mm-hmm.
degree, do you feel like the commune have continued to live that ideal, even though they were getting way more successful in the later years? They had surpluses of money, of actual capital,
Mm-hmm.
up until very recently,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
when tragedy befell them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Um, so, in answer to that question, was it a success, basically? Um, I, if we think of it as launching off to build utopia can't ever really exist. And it's the process of trying to reach it that is either more or less successful. I think, I think, I feel that as of when we left, and from what I've known, which is a decreasing amount each year, um, I feel like it's a good place and has, you know, it falls short all the time, but fundamentally, um, it's maintained that sort of structure of equality.
Egalitarianism.
Yeah, just the things that were basically it was about. It's still, or it continued to be about,
It's maintained
which
its
is,
basic principles.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's not a no bitch rule or a no gossip rule.
Well, okay,
Um,
so I mean, within expectable
yes,
parameters,
right, exactly.
within reasonable parameters, it has maintained its character, its basic
Yes,
principles, and it has continued to strive for, even if it doesn't succeed, it continues to try for utopia.
I
And
think so.
if we define success as continuing to try to reach the goals that you've set, even if your goals are impossible, success means continuing to try, then yes, they've been successful.
Well put. That's yep. That's exactly how I feel about it. Um, and I think one of the things that I really didn't get when I was 20 years old and joined, um, was the enormous array of what people are personally carrying around and bringing into every situation. So, you know, everybody's individual history and, you know, hormonal makeup and in the broader sense, and, you
Baggage.
know, everything, yeah, just makes it so that there's not going to be an obvious answer to any question. It's not like if we take away greed and, you know, sort of punishment and taking advantage of each other, it doesn't mean that we're still going to arrive at the obvious answer, because, like I said, my mom inculcated Depression era thinking in me, and other people didn't. So our answers are always going to be different because we came into it differently. And I didn't realize that. And that was the hardest thing to deal with for me over the years, was the stresses around, why can't we just all get along?
Why can't we all see things from my perspective?
Exactly.
It'll just be so much easier when they all realize that I'm right.
Exactly. And I still feel that way. You know that.
I do, and when other people say it, I kind of laugh at them. The thing is, Ma, you're pretty much always right. Like,
No.
the things you're not right about are things that are so far out of your area of expertise, out of your areas of expertise, that honestly, people probably shouldn't be asking your opinion on them anyway. You know?
Well, thank you, Trivet. That's very kind of you. That's very kind of you. It's getting on.
It's getting on towards lunchtime for you, isn't it?
It is.
So this brings us to when we left the farm, and my last question for you. I was hoping to get a funny O&I board story from you, but we can see if we can get that another time.
To be quite honest, Trev, I looked for them today. I couldn't find any funny O&I stories, so just as well.
Okay. My last question for you is, what do you feel you took away from your experience? How did that come with you? As you've said, we are capitalists as a whole on the family. You're a capitalist, and we've accepted that. But how did this shape your interaction with the rest of the world? And how have you brought this to the rest of the world, hopefully to try and change the world a little bit at least? Because I realize that this is a big question, but I also am aware that in your life after the commune, you have had the opportunity to change very large systems, and the way certain systems work. And I'm hoping for a second interview where we will talk more about life after the commune and what you've done afterwards. But I'd like to leave us on the question of sort of, what's your takeaway? What was your takeaway?
And this is personal, right?
Yes.
This is me. I think the things that I got from Twin Oaks Okay, there you go.
It's
Gets out
okay.
there. Um, there were a few things, huge, huge things. One of them was self-confidence. I mean, the community didn't, it did everything it could to not create barriers to people learning things, doing things, taking responsibility. Um, in some ways it could be problematic when I decided to be an electrician and some things went wrong with that, but you know, uh, but
Some things went wrong sounds very much like I now have permanent curly hair.
yeah, no, I'm not even going to go into what
But this does explain why you were so uneasy when I was like, ooh, I want to be an electrician. You were like, ugh.
so confidence was, I mean, it was a fabulous situation for me, and I kind of knew it going in. Not that I would gain confidence, but that the world that I was coming out of was just not healthy. It didn't. But the other thing was that when I joined the community, the way I thought, the way I approached things was just sort of in a fog. I was a good student, um, but I didn't have a very organized way of approaching anything. And over the years, um, when things went wrong, what drove me when I was there in terms of work was what needs to get done, what's going downhill, what are we in trouble with? I better get involved. I better see if I can't fix it. Not that I did it by myself by any means, but just sort of like that's what drove how I worked after the first few years, not at the beginning. Um, but maybe 3 or 4 years into living there, that's when it started. And I learned to organize information and relate things to each other and extract data and analyze it, roll it back into the to a theory and just keep building on it. And um, it was a set of problem solving tools that are generalizable to lots of different things that the community allowed me to develop by allowing me to, get involved in different things that in the outside I wouldn't have had the credentials to do. And I was a woman, so I couldn't do. And, there was competition for it. There, that was not the case. So I grew a lot. So that's what it took away.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I think that brings us to a good stopping point. We've been going for
Good hour.
a good hour. Um, a little over, actually. Uh, Thank you for joining us, Jerry.
Thank
I
you so
appreciate
much
this
for
very
inviting
much.
me.
A note of disclosure. Jerry is an investor in Nikwork Entertainment. This interview was not requested by her, but thank you very much. You did a wonderful job. I would really like to get you back later and talk about your life post commune, specifically about business school, about going to Darden, about what you did after that, and what that sort of where that led you as a career. and one of the things I'd like to touch on is how immediately after Darden, you were working for the university medical system, and I remember you saying that you were trying to bring Eastern principles, Eastern philosophical principles into how the medical system was doing something. And I was 12, 13, 14. I was paying attention to a lot of other stuff at the time. So I didn't have a chance to then dig deeper into that. I'd like the opportunity to dig deeper into that idea now, if that would be okay with you.
I think I want to give it some time after this one, but we can talk about planning it some other time in the future.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate this. And
Well, and thank you. It was really fun, and I appreciate your inviting me on and getting to say hi to Kat.
I enjoy listening to you tell stories.
Oh, thank you. But thanks for including me. That's very nice.
No problem. Lockpick says this has definitely been one of the most captivating streams to date.
Lockpick, thank you very much. I've enjoyed your comments over the months that I've been following this.
You know, when I met him, when we got to know each other, I had the distinct impression you were gonna like him. It was like, oh, yep. Jerry's gonna like this guy. Well,
okay, guys.
Now is the time when I say, oh, thank you, you too. Now is the time when I say, stick around for the raid. And as they say around here, 2 up, 2 down, VA double deuces. We're out, y'all. Thank you.
Bye-bye.